Hey, word on the street, nigga, Kris is a suspect.
Oh man, goddamn, man. YNW Melly's defense shifting focus of daily shooting to YNW Bortlen. Dog, I just read this title and I'm like, man, he's going to jail. Cause what happened to all that fake the drive-by stuff? Now you're trying to put it on Bortlen. But I have not watched this video yet, so we're gonna see what they're talking about.
Welcome everyone to Law and Crime Daily. I'm Brian Buckmeyer. Court is winding down for the week as rapper YNW Melly reflects on the first few days of testimony in his double murder trial. The jury heard several people testify on Thursday before a planned day off on Friday. Melly, whose given name is Jamel Demons, is accused of killing two men. In October 2018, Melly's best friend, Cortland Henry, showed up at a Miami hospital claiming his friends were caught in a drive-by shooting and were bleeding out in his car. Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas had multiple gunshot wounds and were pronounced dead. Henry told officers they were shot at while leaving a recording studio. But when police got there, they said there was no evidence that a drive-by had occurred. Investigators determined the victims were shot by someone in the car, and Melly was seen on video entering the vehicle alongside the victims and Henry. Police arrested Melly and Henry on 2 counts of first-degree murder each. The defense seems to be pushing the idea that Henry may be the real culprit behind these murders, and not Melly. That was evidence in cross-examination of one of the forensic scientists who the attorney questioned about gunshot residue.
If someone is in a hospital, in a bed in a hospital, do you know if that person has washed their hands?
I don't.
Okay. And by washing your hands, you can get rid of GSR, correct?
Yes, hand washing can remove most, if not all, of the particles on someone's hands.
Do you know if Cortland Henry?
Oh snap, for real? Hey, I'm gonna keep that in mind. Yeah, remember that shit. Wash your hands if after you shoot a gun. I do not promote nefarious activities though.
Washed his hands or changed his clothes?
I don't know that.
Is hand washing the only thing, contrary to popular belief, that removes gunshot residue?
No, gunshot residue is easily removed in general. So with respect to the hands, any type of activity, touching or use of the hands can remove particles.
Man, if I was a criminal like that, bro, I would be eating this up. This is too much game right here, yo. Whoa.
Pretty easily. With clothing, any activity. So if the garment is touching things, if it's laundered,
if it's removed?
Yes, any activity can cause particles to be disrupted or removed.
And you're an independent lab, correct?
Yes, we are.
I'm joined by my co-host, former trial attorney Terry Austin, and our special guest today, attorney Bob Hilla. Terry, what is your view about the defense pointing to Cortland Henry as the possible shooter and not Melly?
Well, you know, I think it's something we should all expect. Frankly, the defendants probably don't want to point to each other, but the defense counsel is going to convince each of them to do exactly that. And so I think here pointing to Henry is a logical thing to do. You want to do as much as you can to take the evidence away from your client. And frankly, they don't have much evidence against either one of them right now. The gunshot residue, you heard the witness on the stand, there wasn't anything definitive as to either Melly or Henry. And so when you have a weak case as far as evidence is concerned and you're pointing to the other person who was there, it makes sense to me.
Absolutely. Bob, the prosecution seems to be throwing a lot of technical and sometimes confusing expert testimony at the jury. Is that helping or hurting their case?
Well, technical is okay and sometimes good. Confusing is bad. You know, in a case where you don't have direct evidence, where somebody witnessed somebody doing something, you need circumstantial evidence to build that case. Scientific evidence is generally reliable. So what's good with that is that it's got to be clear and it's got to be reasonable in its explanation that the jury can grasp and understand.
Yeah, I know a lot of us always say to the jury, you didn't go to jury school to learn how to do all of this, so you've got to break it down for them in a way that they can understand. Well, our coverage of YNW Melly's trial continues after a short break, but first, I participated in a question and answer session Thursday about this very case. One of our fellow analysts answered some questions from viewers on YouTube. Take it up.
There's a question for you here. Letitia from YouTube asks, does the state's evidence and witnesses connect the defendant to the case so far?
Yes, he's definitely connected to the case. I think the video beginning with him leaving the studio, was it at 4:02 a.m. or something around that time? So that's definitely the start of the connection. And then you have to look at the drive that he took. We do know that the red car went into the community where they were all living or staying while they were reporting. And then Bortlen went on to the hospital. So, and then he's, of course, also been connected with the mother's testimony. And I believe she said, or is expected to go into detail, where he calls her daughter and says that he believes that, Juvie and Sack have been shot, and it was a drive-by. So he's definitely connected. He's in there. Without a doubt. I think that they just need to, for me, I have not seen them put the gun in his hand.
All right, we have under
I need to see.
a minute here, Afi. I just want to ask you 20 seconds, another question from YouTube. What happens if there's a hung jury?
If there's a hung jury, the prosecutors are going to have to regroup, and they will have an opportunity to decide whether or not they want to retry the case.
All right. Well, thank you for answering those questions. Great insight, great analysis, as always.
They didn't invest too much in this case for a hung jury for them to not retry it. So if it's a hung jury, they running that joint right back.
Welcome back to Law and Crime Daily. Our coverage continues now of the first week of YNW Melly's double murder trial in South Florida. Melly, whose given name is Jamel Demons, has been locked up since 2019 when he was arrested for allegedly murdering two of his friends, who are also part of the YNW rap brand. Police believe Melly was sitting in the back seat of an SUV when he opened fire on Christopher Thomas and Anthony Williams, killing them both. He and another friend, Cortland Henry, are accused of trying to make police think it was a drive-by shooting. Henry was also arrested and charged, but is on house arrest while he awaits his separate trial. Melly, who has a moderate social media following, has lots of fans.
Moderate is an understatement. This dude's a big deal. Y'all boys crazy.
Watching his trial and proclaiming his innocence. At one point Thursday morning, outside the presence of the jury, the judge questioned the prosecution's request to show social media videos of Melly with guns and cash. Ultimately, the judge wasn't having it.
One of the videos I saw has a gun in it. This is all.
Shows access to the murder of firearm 6 days before the homicide.
Right. I don't see how that is relevant to anything, and I think it's more prejudicial and probative, and it shouldn't be there. All right? So I'm not allowing that weapon. It's not like you had something 15 minutes or a half hour before the incident in question. I'm not letting something in with a gun days before. That's number one. Number two, I know there's been no argument that 403 analysis, but I don't see how any of the pictures and the videos with all the flash and the cash and all that really has anything to do with anything. I want all those out.
Oh, so are they trying to use like his music videos and all that as like some kind of deflection to make you think he violent or something? Yo, that's entertainment, bro. Y'all boys, and the judge ain't going for that either.
I'm not admitting those. All right?
So the videos of him in the bathroom with the sack of cash.
Anything where he's flashing all the cash, I don't see how any of those things are relevant. They're more prejudicial and probative. The gun is more prejudicial and probative. I'm not letting it.
Good thing I don't have any cash to flash. Well, Bob, was the judge right to deny the video from coming in? What made it relevant or irrelevant?
Well, I think the judge was right. I mean, the simple fact of guns and money can if it's not linked to the actual crime, has a problem. Evidence has to do three things. It has to be relevant, it has to be reliable, and it can't confuse or mislead, more importantly. This has two capabilities to cause problems. One, there's questionable relevancy. The second is it could mislead the jury into making a linkage that isn't there.
Yeah, he takes videos of him having a gun. Clearly, he's the one that committed the crime. You don't want that to happen. And I think the judge made a good point is, are these videos close in time to when it actually occurred? Is it even the same gun? And what's the deal with money? He's a rapper. He's got money. So what? But Terry, there's a lot of support for Melly online. What do you think? Has the prosecution done enough so far to connect Melly to the crime?
These dudes are corny as hell, dog. Oh my God, I just gotta throw that in there.
Well, you know, Melly has a lot of fans, and I think that's the support. And those fans actually were supporting him even before any evidence was produced during the trial. I do think that the prosecution has a long way to go, and the trial is at least halfway over at this point. They haven't connected him to any gun. They don't have a gun, so they can't connect him to that. And the gunshot residue hasn't been definitive as far as he's concerned. So I do think that they have trouble showing even things like their experts talking about the projectile and the trajectory. It's so much that is undetermined at this point, like the height and the position. Nothing has really been nailed down. So I think they have a long way to go before they actually say, look, it was Melly, he had the gun, this is the trajectory, this is where he was sitting. None of that has been established. And I think obviously our courts require beyond a reasonable doubt. You're going to take someone's life, you're going to put them in jail forever, here, someone's life. I think they have to show much more.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, at this point, I'm worried, are they going to get a trial order dismissal? They're going to do something more than what they've been doing. Well, we have an update for you out of Boise, Idaho. Doomsday cult mom and convicted murderer Lori Vallow Daybell appeared in court this week as a judge decided whether or not to grant her a new trial. Last month.
All right, so yeah, I said at the beginning, I think this might make him go to jail, but after hearing him talk, it sounds like he not finna go to jail. The prosecution is just grasping at whatever they could grasp at, and this trial took 5 years to even come to court, and that was already a sign to me that they ain't really had nothing. They just trying to just manufacture something. They don't know who did it. For real, like, I don't know if he did it or not. I don't know what happened, so that's reasonable doubt right there. Yeah, he's probably gonna get off, and he's gonna be the biggest thing for like a year, or who knows, but he's gonna be a big deal if he get off with this joint, man. That's all, folks.
Bitch, I'm a suspect. Ain't no victims over here. We the suspects to be clear, man. Y'all reacting weird, bitch, I'm a suspect.